You're welcome back to Afia TV tonight and our conversation segment. President Tinubu and Vice President Shettima will spend 9.36 billion naira on local and foreign travels, as well as refreshments in the coming year 2025. Now, this is contained in the details of the 2025 appropriation bill released by the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. The president had on Wednesday presented the 49.7 trillion 2025 budget proposals to a joint session of the National Assembly. The fiscal document is christened Restoration Budget, Securing Peace and Building Prosperity. According to the budget proposal, Tinubu will spend 7.44 billion naira on travels and refreshments, while Shettima will spend 1.9 billion naira for same. The president's international travels in 2025 will gulp 6.14 billion naira and his local trips 873.9 million naira. Also, the sum of 431.6 million naira was earmarked for Tinubu's refreshments and meals, as well as foodstuff and catering supplies. The vice president's international travels in 2025 will gulp 1.31 billion naira and local trips 417.5 million naira. Refreshments and meals, as well as foodstuff and catering supplies for the vice president, will gulp down 186.2 million naira. In 2024, President Tinubu, Vice President Shettima, and First Lady Remi Tinubu spent not less than 5.24 billion naira on local and foreign travel between January and March 2024. And this is according to an analysis of the travel expenses using Gulp Spend. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Onyekachukwu Asadu, and he's the boy coach and social commentator. Good evening, Mr. Asadu, and welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you very much, Amazing Grace. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. So tell us a bit, the budget has been presented by the president himself on Wednesday. And of course, it is our duty as the media to begin to look at, certain sections and see where the government might be trying to overspend. Now, let's not forget that the budget will be largely funded by borrowings. But in the midst of that crisis and the economic downturn that Nigeria is going through, the president, President Tinubu and Shettima will be gulping down 9.4 billion naira for their refreshments and their trips in 2025. What do you make of this section of the budget?
I think that this is, simply hypocrisy. This is hypocrisy, and for a country, for a leadership of a country that is actually living on borrowing, for a leadership of a country that is that is on his knees, that is even is alleged to be a failed state. This is hypocrisy. This is ridiculous. Why would a president of a country whose country is in shambles economically and otherwise, talk about going on trips that are worth billions of naira? Why would a vice president be going on trips locally and internationally that are worth billions of naira? I mean, it's simply hypocrisy. We are just shooting ourselves in the leg. And what baffles me the more is that the money that was spent, the money that is still being spent this year, the 2024 expenditure, is not being accounted for. There is no evidence of accountability. Please, someone should prove me wrong. But as far as I know, there is no prompt evidence of transparency or accountability. Okay, this is how much we have spent, this is what we have used the money to do, and so on and so forth. There is no, and look at the speed with which the Senate, the joint National Assembly passed that budget, because they know that they will benefit from it. It's a very simple thing. So for me, this budget is just they said it's they tagged it something about restoration and security, something like that, peace. What kind of peace do you want to bring when you are gulping billions of naira that is not that will not be accounted for. So for me, it's simply hypocrisy. We have not gotten it right in terms of fiscal responsibility. We are still joking as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, just to help in there, the budget is actually tagged Restoration Budget, Securing Peace
Okay.
and Building
Uh-huh.
Prosperity.
Okay. The name
Well,
alone is hypocrisy. It's hypocritical as far as I'm concerned.
okay. So now, in the
Yes.
times past, in the last 8 years of President Buhari, we also had this sort of issues. We had budgets where we saw that there was a specific monies that were kept aside for taking care of even animals. Not to say that animals do not have their rights, but when it comes to a country where the average person is living, on less than even $1 a day, and then it becomes
Exactly.
quite insensitive, and the people,
Mm.
would ask, the ordinary man on the street will ask, how does the budget affect me? So let's talk about a certain part of this summary here that spoke about the food. Okay, so recently we saw
Yeah.
food stuff and catering supplies. Now, recently we saw the First Lady having to say that she's into agriculture and encouraging Nigerians, to have their own gardens and all of that. But here we still see that the Vice President's home will be gulping down 186.2 million naira for refreshments and meals, and also that the President's home will be gulping down 431.6 million naira. And don't forget also that the First Lady, whilst they were campaigning, had said that
Yes.
they were not campaigning because they wanted anything from Nigeria, because they're actually very rich. And of course, they're not there for the money. But these are some of the things that Nigerians are beginning to complain about. What do we do about cutting
Exactly.
down, this sort of spendings that has to stifle Nigeria every time?
You see, I said it at the beginning of this interview that this is simply hypocrisy. Our leaders know the truth, but they don't want to apply the truth. They know. And I say this without fear of favor. There's no human being who doesn't have, something inside him that, even no matter how dead in his conscience is, when you look around, you know that things are not working and that things need to be. But because they are so selfish, in their thinking, it's all about them and their own people. It's simple. Cut down the cost of governance. Why do we need to have a president working? Okay, for example, the president was said to have landed in Lagos, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, for the Christmas and New Year holidays. A president of a country that is on fire. You are going on holidays. At whose expense? At whose expense are you going on that holiday? All right. So for me, the cost of governance, is too high, and it is not necessary. Part of that budget too is about building structures for special assistants and all of that. We don't need this kind of offices. We don't need them. So we need to cut them down, and that is what a former popular presidential candidate, was canvassing for. That we need to bring down the cost of governance across all levels. And what it means that even politicians must, apply the principle of lean resources. But like I said, it's about self-interest. It's about what I want. It's about my own. It's about, I don't care how other people are faring. And then they give handouts away in the name of empowerment, and they think that they are helping Nigerians. As far as I'm concerned, this is a budget of hypocrisy. There is no restoration, there is no peace, there is no justice, there is no fairness. Many Nigerians are going to go to bed hungry this Christmas because of the way the country is going. Look at the cost of a flight. My wife was trying to book an airfare, just yesterday at the airport, and the amount of money they were calling is outrageous for a country that has the resources. So for me, it's simply a case of, it's a budget of selfishness, it's a budget of hypocrisy, and we shouldn't just focus on the governor, the president. Let's also bring it down to the state level, because a lot of our appropriation bills are going on in different houses of assembly across the country. What are they doing? So as far as I'm concerned, if until we face the reality, until we put our interest in our pockets and face public interest and cut down heavily, for goodness sake, private companies are applying this and it's working for them. Despite the way the economy is going, they are bringing down the cost of, operational cost and the cost of corporate governance. That is the only way we can make things work. Otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, this is not a budget of restoration. It's a budget of hyperinflation. It's a budget of hypocrisy. It is a budget of self-centeredness, and our leaders do not care. If our president and vice president, they really care, they will ensure that that budget is not padded. So that's my opinion on that.
All right. We'll keep it coming here as we look into other sections of the budget, but we want to thank you for your time tonight, Mr.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
For discussing
yeah. Thank you.
That's all we have right here for you on Afia TV News, streaming live from Enugu, Nigeria. And on behalf of the entire production team, I am Amazing Grace Ajayi. Thank you so much for watching and good night.